Jazzy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. For those people that don't know who you are, you grew up in a family full of fighters, but could you also share what that experience was like growing up?
Yeah, it was pretty, I guess, different than most kids that I grew up around. Like, I kind of just thought it was the normal until I got a bit older, and then I was like, oh, yeah, I guess not everyone is going to the gym every afternoon and, doing Muay Thai every day, which now I look back, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's pretty cool, but a bit different. But, yeah, it just seemed like my life growing up. It was kind of all I ever knew. From the first place that I ever came to after I was born was literally sorry, not the hospital. Literally straight from the hospital was the gym. My dad was late for a class, so I'd definitely been born and bred in the gym. So yeah, it's just kind of like all I knew.
That's insane. So literally you went from the hospital straight to the gym.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, it's pretty
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. And obviously, both of your parents are world champions. You know, your dad, John Wayne Parr, 10 times world Muay Thai champion. And your mother, obviously, Angie Parr, she's a two-time Muay Thai champion as well.
Yeah.
But what was their decision to influence you into taking up combat sports?
Well, I was kind of always very persistent on it because, like, I've always seen my mum and my dad train my whole life. My dad has been in and out of fight camps literally since I was born, same as my mum. So, like, kind of was always pressuring it from my point of view. I was like, I want to fight, but I guess I didn't really understand, like, what fighting was. But they always said, like, okay, when you're eight, that's when you can fight. And then when I turned 8 years old, I was like, hey, I'm 8 years old now, I can fight. And they were like, oh, okay, she still wants to do it. And so, yeah, they let me do it.
That's incredible. And you know what? Like your family reminds me very much of the Gracie family and what it would be like to grow up in that kind of family.
Yeah.
And I mean, just having the skill, but also knowing that your parents are pretty badass. I mean, does that kind of give you a little bit of sense of confidence and reassurance about how you walk, how you talk? You know, I mean, it must be pretty surreal growing up, yeah?
Yeah, I think, like, martial arts in general, like, regards, it doesn't matter if you've got family in the sport or, like, of course, I'm sure it definitely makes a difference, but I think martial arts is just so great like that, where it really teaches you to kind of, have that self-respect for yourself and that self-discipline for others, where, I've never been in a street fight and I've never had any problems with anyone before and at, like, being out or anything like that. And I think it's just that, like, even in school, like, I don't think I ever had a problem just being like, I know that I can defend myself. I know that I can take care of myself, but I don't need to prove that to anyone. Like, it's more like, I just think that's the really good thing about martial arts is a lot of people find themselves, like, fall into this kind of mindset. It's like, you know your skills. You know that you can defend yourself. You know you can take care of yourself. But why? Why prove that you're so much better than someone else and get on their level when you're already so much more above them? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's cool, like, martial arts in general, whether you've got parents in the sport or not, but I think I'm just double lucky.
Yeah, it's amazing. I did a podcast recently with Victor Lyle. I don't know if you know who Victor Lyle is. So he made headlines all over social media for a video where he intervened in a street fight, and he actually had to use his martial arts for real. And these two guys were stomping on another dude's head, and he's just jumped in to try and help out. And this video just went fucking viral.
Oh, I
And
think I
it's
have seen this video, yes.
yeah. He's a fascinating dude to talk to. And
Yeah.
what was really interesting just listening to him is the same thing that I always talk about is I think if more people trained in martial arts, we wouldn't have all the bullshit and fuckery that goes on in the world because knowing how to fight, as cliche as it sounds, you understand that you have the capability of violence, but also you know what it's like to be gentle. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like sparring, I mean, obviously you've done endless rounds of sparring, and when you shape up to someone, you know, there's that respect already there. And
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. How do you take that same energy when you spar and also apply that into real life? Because the very much that transfers over into everything that you do. You know, how does that work for you?
Like more as like in like a day-to-day life aspect, or like into going into fights, like
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to
So day
fight.
to day. So how does martial arts for you impact you on everything that you do, whether it be entrepreneurial or business related or relationships? How does that carry over into your life?
Yeah, it definitely is like obviously the biggest impact in my life. Like my whole life, like as much as I keep a very good balance in my life, and I think that's a very good thing as well. I have martial arts, which has taught me so many things: discipline, clean eating, having respect for others, respecting my elders, like respecting my partner, respecting myself, because it's very important, to have all these aspects in your life, and as well as being responsible for my own actions, like. I mean, my mum might not agree with this. Sometimes I forget a lot of things and I'm not always the most responsible. But I do try and put that in my day-to-day life, like I write out a program what I'm doing each week, and I teach clients, so for me it is business as well. I have most of my income at the moment when I'm not in a fight is coming from my clients. I'm teaching them how to fight. I'm teaching them not too much how to fight. It's majority people want fitness and stuff like that. So at the moment I'm running a kids camp for the school holidays, and I'm teaching them,
Oh,
you know, all of the same thing that I'm talking about, like self-discipline, respecting your elders, respecting your peers, teamwork. Like, I didn't realize it would have such a big impact on the parents as well, but it's all come back to me that the parents are just so happy with kind of like the message that I'm bringing across. And I was like, that's so true. I kind of didn't think of it as a message because it's basically all I know. But when I took a step back, it's like, it really can shape someone's life. And I know how much it changes these kids' lives. So it's like, it's very inspiring for me and actually motivates me to work harder because I can be like, oh, I see that this really makes a difference in people's lives. So yeah, it's all shaped into my day-to-day life, but I think it's also just as important to have a good balance.
oh, 100%. And what a remarkable journey you've been on, through just the highs and lows. And I think for me personally, like I've been fighting for 30 years, and
Yeah.
anything good that has happened in my life has been a result of practicing martial arts. It's just made me kinder, it's made me more a benevolent person, it's made me more empathetic.
Yeah.
It just gives me confidence. It just helps me so much. And you'd be the same, especially now because you're such a fantastic spokesperson for not just people, like you're also for children as well. So you're working with kids, and this is what I think kids need: is they need role models like you, and we need to sort of bring up the next generation.
Yeah.
But with a record of 19 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws in Muay Thai, how do you reflect on your journey so far?
I think that's my old record. I've had 30 Muay Thai fights now.
30
But
Muay Thai fights.
yeah, I had 30 Muay Thai fights. I've also been on a reality show in Malaysia. So I had three
Oh,
fights in
wow.
6 weeks, and they were all five 2-minute rounds. So they were all full Thai rules. And that was crazy. That was a crazy experience. But I've had
Yeah.
30 Muay Thai fights and 5 boxing fights now. So I've had 35 fights altogether.
So 30 Muay Thai fights, and what was the other thing you said?
And then five professional boxing fights. So now I only fight
Boxing.
boxing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, what was the
That's
question? I got distracted. It doesn't really matter. I don't really mind if you, but just in case. So I was
yeah.
like, hey, you should have more than that.
Yeah, and it's remarkable. I just have such the highest respect for fighters, and I
Yeah.
had the privilege to talk to your mum as well, who's also a Muay
Yes.
Thai champion herself. And the preparation and the anxiety and the nervousness and the night before. I mean, how do you combat all that? I mean, do you get nervous now because you've been on in so many fights? Do you still get nervous? Like, do you have trouble the night before?
Yeah, so I've like dealt with a lot of anxiety, like basically since I was like 12 years old. And just like in day-to-day life and training, I find I put a lot of pressure on myself being an athlete. I have a lot of pressure on myself being the daughter of champions. But yeah, so I've always kind of dealt with anxiety and just like social pressure, I guess. But it's definitely like self-inflicted. But as I've gotten older, like, I mean, it wasn't magic. I've done so much work. I've spoke to psychologists, I speak to therapists, I speak to, like just mind coaches regards to being an athlete, mind coaches regards to being a person, like so many different kinds of like mental health work. And I really deep dive in myself, like, how can I be better? Every day, I'm like, how can I be better? What can I do to be better? And I think doing all of this stuff, all this stuff over time has just really shaped me into the person I am today and has built like a mental strength in myself. I still feel all of these emotions. I still get so nervous before I fight. I still get so nervous day in, day out of training, nervous, watching what I eat, everything. But it's how I react to that nervousness now I think has really shaped me and I really grow. And having the tools to, manage my emotions and manage my reactions and manage my just day-to-day life. So it's definitely a lot of work, like being mentally stable. It's not easy, but if you have the tools and you have the right family, you have the right support, you have a good friend group, you eat healthy and you live healthy, then your life's good.
100%,
You
and I
gotta you
love
gotta count
that.
your blessings.
Oh, definitely, definitely, and just what a remarkable person you are, and
Thank
just
you.
the journey that you've been on, and you fought internationally as well. You fought over in I think you've obviously fought in Thailand. You
Yeah.
fought in England and
Yeah.
Canada, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yes. And
It's
Malaysia.
pretty, and Malaysia as
Yeah.
well. I mean, it's pretty fucking remarkable. And
Thank
I mean,
you.
some of the highs and the lows, but how have you overcome adversity yourself? I mean, I'm sure there must have been setbacks. How
Oh,
did you able to overcome them?
there has been setbacks through my whole life, just when you think it's getting better, sometimes it just feels like boom, 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 setback, setback, setback. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And, pain, my dad says, pain is temporary, legacy is forever. And just comes down to how bad you want it. I know in my heart that I'm going to be a champion. I know in my heart that I'm going to be successful. And when you have the self-belief and like I said, you have the right family and support, not just family, but, you can have your friends that feel like family, or you have, like, even having a mind coach psychologist. Like, I reach out all the time. And, like, I speak to a psychologist weekly. I do a lot of mind work. I'm with a girl named Kyra, so she does a great, I'm in a, like, women's course at the moment, and it's just, about elevating the mindset and, coming to yourself and being, it's called the powerful woman, and, I'm just always open-minded. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm very open-minded. I'm very open-minded, and I like to be like a sponge. I don't
Yeah.
mind what it is. I don't care what the advice is. I like trying to be better. And if I can take on one little thing from every little thing, and that makes me 10 times better, then I'm happy, So you just gotta, like, trust yourself, trust your friends, trust your family, and yeah, put that energy into yourself, and you gotta fill up that cup. If you fill your cup up, you're gonna be good.
Yeah. So would you say that fighting is about 80% psychology and maybe only 20% physical?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what the ratio is, but it's got to be, if your mind is not there, you cannot fight. I've had fights when I fought in Canada, when I fought in England. My mindset, now my coach, my professor's in the window. Sorry, I'm at the gym. Everyone's coming at me. Um, if I've had fights where my mind was not there at all, and I just gave up in the ring, and that could be some of my biggest regrets, or it could be my biggest lessons, and that's my biggest lessons. So I've grown up and I've fought my whole life, but now dealing with that, I know I will never ever put myself on the line if my mind's not there. My mind has to be there. Doesn't matter if I'm the strongest woman in the world, my mind has to be there. And if my mind is strong, my life is strong. I'm physically strong. You can't beat me.
You know what, Jazzy? Listening to you, it's infectious. Yeah, I feel like going to hit the gym after this. Like
Oh, it's so good.
I feel pumped up. I feel like lifting some weights. Like who needs pre-workout?
Yeah,
It
just listen
is.
to
That's
Jazzy talk.
amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's truly amazing. And I mean, I'd be fascinated to learn what are some of the daily practices that you do. Like because you said mindset is a big thing. Do you obviously practice gratitude? Do you journal? What do you do?
I'm like, my mom thinks I'm a bit woo-woo. I think everyone thinks I'm a bit woo-woo. I'm very spiritual. And I think I put a lot of my day-to-day practice into my spirituality. But I manifest everything. Everything I have in my life is manifestation. And I'm reading a book at the moment, and I'm sure a lot of people will understand and know this book. It's called The Secret.
Yep.
And if you know the book, you know the book. But I've always felt like something in my core since I was a child that you can trust this intuition. You can trust what your body is telling you, and if you trust your body and you trust yourself, anything is possible. And it all goes down
Yeah.
to the law of attraction. It all goes down to gratitude, how you speak to yourself day in, day out. Also, like, my auntie is one of my biggest role models, like, in my life. Everything I say, even if it doesn't seem like the big littlest thing, like, if I'm like, oh, I don't really feel pretty today, or like I'm not really feeling strong enough or whatever, it's like, no, you are strong. And you can say these words and it can mean anything, but when you say things and you believe them, you level up. It's like retraining their brain. Just
Yeah.
your words are like, oh, what's the word? Your words can be so powerful. And if you put that,
Yes.
like, those tiny little details, it can change your whole life, your whole perspective in life. So everything's just so positive. I'm not
Yeah.
positive all the time, and I cannot lie and say I'm only human, but I do my best every day. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Have you watched the documentary The Secret, Jazzy? Have
Yes.
you seen
Yeah.
it on Netflix?
Oh, I haven't seen it on Netflix, but I've seen, like, the original, The Secret.
Yeah, The
I haven't
Secret.
seen it on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's the same one that you're talking
Okay.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. I think that you are what you do and what you think and how you
Yes.
act, and it's obviously fantastic that you sort of embody that not just in training but also you're conscious about your thoughts.
Yeah.
And how do you combat negativity? What are some of the strategies that you do? Because I think as a fighter, this would be something that you would learn and how you could implement that in life. But there are a lot of people as well, Jazzy, that are obviously going through some really bad shit.
Yeah.
But what would be some advice to those people on just reprogramming the way that they think?
Well, like I said, I'm only human, and I've dealt with a lot of adversity myself, and I know that probably people could say, they've had it worse, or they've gone through this, or they've gone through that, and I am not like putting anyone down and anyone in their own emotions. Everyone's emotions are 100% valid, but I also have seen that through when I've been in times where I thought my life was going to end, I thought this is the worst possible thing that could ever, ever, ever happen to me. It flipped around. And everything was always going to be okay. And everything is always going to be okay. And even though if something happens and it's like, it's like, oh, this was supposed to happen and now everything's ruined. It's like, no, that's exactly the way that it's supposed to be. And that's exactly the way it's going to be. And it has to be like the most powerful thing in my head, because I've seen it with myself over and over and over again. It's like, no, it's just another lesson. This is just the way it's supposed to be. Oh, I'm running late to work. It's just the way it's supposed to be. What if it's like the butterfly effect? Everything. Oh, I could have had this fight. That fight fell through. That's okay. That wasn't meant to be. I just have to trust. I have so much faith in the universe that no matter what happens, and maybe it seems a bit weird, it can be whatever you think. It can be God. It can be Buddha. It can be, the universe. It could be anything. But if you have that trust in God, we could be God, everything will be okay. And that's all I can put my trust into. And that's why my mind is so strong. I just know that no matter what, everything's going to be okay. And
Fucking
maybe it's
hell,
maybe it's delusional. I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm not. Even if I fake it till I make it, but that still works. It still works. So
yeah.
that's me.
I'm getting goosebumps. Hey, listening
I'm
to
feeling
you.
all chewed up. I love this shit. I could talk about it
Fucking
for days.
hell. That's no. Have you ever thought about becoming a life coach? Like, I think you would be fantastic at that. I think you
Oh,
you would
thank
be
you.
awesome. Not only being able to teach Muay Thai and martial arts, you could teach kids, but integrate life coaching. Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
That is crazy, because I've actually had 3 opportunities this last week asking me the same thing. And asking if I want to speak at the thing. I'm like, why do they want me to speak? I don't know.
You'd be
But
fantastic as a
oh,
motivational speaker. Yeah,
thank
you'd be
you.
amazing. 100%.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. 100%. And so transitioning into professional boxing, which is obviously, pretty remarkable because you grew up entirely in Muay Thai, but I mean boxing is only one element of fighting. But what was that preparation like?
Um, it was pretty fast, honestly, because I had a Muay Thai fight. I think it was October 31st, and then I had another fight. Like, I got offered the opportunity to fight again in 3 weeks for boxing, and it was for an Australian boxing title. And I thought, I don't like boxing. I actually hate boxing. And I did the camp and I was crying every day and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Because I had injuries. I had injuries in my hips and it was just getting really inflamed because I've just gone straight back to back. And I was crying to my mum the last Saturday, my last sparring session before the week of the fight. And I said, I'm never boxing again. I hate boxing. Then I had my fight and I thought, this is actually very cool. My first boxing fight was an 8-round title fight. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. I think they were trying to feed me to the Sharks, but I was like, nope, I'm ready to bang. I know that I'm a fighter. Fighters fight regardless. I did my fight and I won. I won, I think, 8 rounds of the fight. And that was, I got the Australian title. And I was like, wow, I really like boxing. I want to be a boxer. And I also got paid like triple the amount. I wasn't getting paid much, but I got triple the
Yeah.
amount that I did in my Muay Thai fight. So I was like, wow, this is actually quite interesting. And then I learned that boxing isn't just Muay Thai without the hands. Boxing is an art itself. Boxing is just a science. And I fell in love with that. And I'm still falling in love with that every day. Like when I'm training boxing, it's like there's so many little elements that make such big outcomes. And that's what I fall in love with every day. And now fast forward, I think this is my 3rd year boxing. I've had 5 professional boxing fights. I'm 5-0. Last fight got the knockout, and I feel like unstoppable now. Like I just know that this is my journey, and this is the path that I was supposed to go on. When I tore my hip in Muay Thai, and like I said, I thought that was it. What am I going to do? I'm ruined. My legs, they're not working. Every time I kick, there's so much pain and this, and then there's the opportunity. Now I'm
What
boxing.
did you do to your hip?
I tore my labrum and I tore my ligament, and it was absolutely horrible. I dealt with that for 2 years, and I
Oh,
was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. Then finally, I see my doctor. He's like, you need to get surgery. Your hip is just torn. So I finally got surgery, got that healed within like, I think 8 months. I came back and I fought Muay Thai again. And then after that, boxing, and then the ball's just been rolling since then. But yeah, it's just been crazy. That was just like, what's it called? Like degeneration, like when the hips just keep tearing.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like just over time, just not training enough. And
Because
sorry, not
your dad,
stretching enough.
oh,
What was
not
that?
stretching. Yeah,
Yeah.
your dad had a similar experience, didn't he? Did he
Yeah,
get
I think it's
it? Like,
genetic.
it's genetic. What about your
I
mum? Did
think
she experience
her
anything
hip,
like
she's
that?
torn her labrum as well. She also has the exact same tear as me. And then
Oh,
my dad, his like whole cartilage was gone. And
wow.
then my brother actually has hips as well, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's okay. It'll be right.
Yeah, he's incredible. I've been watching your brother in the BJJ scene,
He's
and
so good.
he's so good. And I mean, what a remarkable athlete he is as well. But
Yeah, he's great.
you've done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu yourself, and you've won some competitions. But what was your first introduction into BJJ like? Because you know you're a striker, and then coming from a very proficient background, which you are, striking, and then jumping into something completely different. What was that like for you?
Well, I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I was a kid. I think I was like 7 or 8. And I told my mum, I said, Mum, I want to do karate because I just wanted to wear like the outfits. So then she gave me the outfit and then we did the session. I was like, that was not karate, but it was Jiu-Jitsu. But then I ended up sticking with it for a bit and I trained at Puma just down the road from us actually with Vince Perry. And I was training there for I don't know how long I was training. I think I trained there for like 3 years, but just on and off. I was always on and off with jiu-jitsu. Then I started doing jiu-jitsu again, and then we had a Brazilian professor, and he's so awesome. He's our coach at the gym now. And they're like, "You want to do a comp?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do a comp." Because I think it was COVID times, and I was like, "I just want to compete. Like, I wanted that adrenaline. I wanted the thrill." And I didn't think I was going to get it with jiu-jitsu. But it was exciting. I liked it. I actually said before, like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I think I want to do another jiu-jitsu comp, but it's just, I don't want to risk hurting myself when
Yeah.
I got fights and stuff coming up. But yeah, I don't know how many comps I've had. I think I had like 6 or 7, but I've done a few.
Yeah. Do you enjoy the gi or do you prefer more no gi?
I think I like the gi.
Yeah.
I would like the no gi. I mean, I would like just like wrestling if I had like maybe MMA gloves on. I would like to fight with the little gloves, but I don't know
Yeah.
if that's my path right now.
It
Maybe in
really
the
is.
future.
It really is an amazing martial art. It's it's the only martial art on the planet where the little guy can beat the big guy. Like my
Yeah.
first introduction into BJJ Jazzy, like I initially started with striking arts, and I had a little bit of grappling experience, but I remember my first introduction, I got fucked up. I got my ass handed to me by a girl. She must have been like a high level blue belt at the time. She strangled the fuck out of me. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, shit, I
Oh
can't
my
believe that
gosh.
someone could do that to you.
Yeah, it's
But yeah,
crazy.
it's pretty amazing. It's incredible. And would there be any avenue that you think you would probably go down? Like you said, you're pretty adamant about doing boxing, but do you think there might be a possibility of maybe crossing over into MMA down the track?
Well, when I was a bit younger, I always thought that was going to be my plan. I was like, I'm going to do MMA and that's what I'm going to do. But I just kept injuring myself, like little injuries, like my fingers and my knees and my toes and just like little things in my hips. My hips were not happy, but um, right now, I can't see myself doing MMA. But then like I said, I would like to try fight with little gloves one day. But I don't know. I just like trust in the universe.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens. I'm not sure right now. I don't think so,
yeah.
but who knows?
What do you think of the bare knuckle boxing? What do you think of that?
I don't know. It's a bit crazy for me. I would not personally do bare knuckle boxing. I
Nah.
100% respect those that do it. No disrespect, but I would not. My hands, like this is my weapons.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess my hands up. One, and I don't want to mess my face up too much. I know
Yeah.
boxing there's like slight technique, but some of those bare knuckle fights they're just hectic. They're just a bit
They're,
haymakers.
they're pretty fucking brutal, hey?
Very but seriously, mad respect to those who do it. Just not for me.
Yeah, 100%. And with your training, especially with Muay Thai and in comparison to boxing, how does the two differentiate, especially with cardio? Because cardio is a lot different, isn't it, with boxing?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm like they're so hard in their own ways. Like boxing is just so many punches. Like I said, my first boxing fight, I was crying every day. My knuckles were like bruised, black, peeled apart. Like I don't know if you can see on the camera, but I got some pretty hectic, just like cartilage and like bruising on my knuckles all the time because it's just a lot of punches. I mean now not so much, but my shoulders and like your legs get like a different kind of sore with boxing, but my favorite thing is after a fight, I can walk.
Yeah.
I can walk. Muay Thai is like your shins are just so sore for weeks on end, and it's just bruising and elbows. It's brutal. Like I love Muay Thai as a sport. I absolutely think it's fascinating to watch, and I will never not love Muay Thai. But it's just
Yeah.
boxing. It's like the richer the reward seems a little better. The better
Yeah.
pay, less injuries. It's just a bit more exposure. But I wish Muay Thai was as big as boxing, but it's just the way it is.
Claiming a women's international boxing world flyweight title. This was back in 2022. It was an amazing accomplishment, but I mean, how did that fight compare to your earlier fights?
Um, yeah, that was a crazy fight because that was my first time fighting 10 rounds, and 10 rounds is a freaking long time. So yeah, it was pretty hectic. There was a lot of preparation. Well, so just before that, actually, I just went to Malaysia, and I was on that reality TV show. It was called The Challenger. So I had three fights in 6 weeks, five twos. And then I had to come back to Australia. Oh, the light turned off. Back to Australia and straight back in 3 weeks notice. Well, not 3 weeks notice, but 3 weeks again. 10 rounds. So my body, like, I was in just like, I was so fit. I was just like crazy fit, ready to go. My mindset was just like full beast mode, which was like really good. Like, but it was just hectic. So yeah, it was wild. It was definitely an experience. I definitely am so like I fought that fight and then the next fight after that I defended my title. So I did not take it have it easy my first four boxing fights. First fight,
Yeah.
boxing was 8 rounds. Second was 6, 10 rounds, 10 rounds, and then 6 again. So
Because it's
already with my
normally,
5 fights, I've had a lot of rounds.
wow. Because is boxing normally 12 rounds though?
So for men, it's 12
Yeah.
threes for the world title.
Okay.
But for women, it's only 10 and it's only 2 minutes. So
Wow.
they only had their first ever, what's it? Like first like world title fight for 12 threes. That was Amanda Serrano and, oh my gosh, I can't remember who she fought. But that was the first time in like women's history, which is really cool.
Yeah. That's
First
incredible.
shit,
And I
man. I
mean,
don't know
you,
why it's not 12 threes. I mean, I'm not really complaining, but I don't really understand why there's like that regulation or it's like a big stigma. I don't know.
yeah. And have you got any upcoming fights? Have you got some things going on behind the
Oh
scenes?
my,
And do you enjoy fighting internationally, or do you prefer to have sort of a home fight?
I'll fight anywhere. I do not mind. I don't care where I'm gonna fight. I don't care if I'm fighting on the Gold Coast. I don't care if I'm fighting in Thailand, England, wherever. I just
Yeah.
like fighting. I'm happy for all the opportunities. Whatever the life is giving me, I'll take it.
Yeah. And who would you say have been some core role models throughout your whole entire journey? Leading up to obviously where you are now, an incredible journey that you've been on. But who's been some significant role models?
Definitely my parents. My parents have always been my biggest role models because like I've seen firsthand. I've seen them do it. I've seen them, in and out of the gym grinding. So they're 100%. Ronda Rousey was one of the biggest role models for me when I was a bit younger. I actually went and seen her fight live versus Holly Holm. I was
Yeah.
right next to the cage and I watched her get knocked out. And
What
she was
was
my
that
biggest
experience
idol at
like?
the time. I was so heartbroken. It's
Oh,
like watching your superhero get destroyed.
because I think that there's a video I think on YouTube. Your dad actually I think filmed the fight, and then when
Yes.
she got KO'd, he turned it over to Joe Rogan, and yeah, you could just see obviously Joe Rogan's reaction. But I mean, what was that
Yes.
like? That would have been pretty amazing to see
Oh my
that.
gosh. That was just crazy. I like honestly, I will never forget just being like, I think I cried. I
Yeah,
was
it
I
was.
was so heartbroken. It was pretty brutal, but hey, congrats to Holly Holm and like congrats to Holly Holm. Like this is recent, but like yeah, women are just evolving like constantly. So you gotta up your game constantly to be the
Yeah.
best. And Holly Holm did that, so good on her.
Yeah. So your mum and dad obviously been some major supporters as well. But is there anybody else that you can think of that has been a real help for you?
Like in like boxing or like in just in general.
Yeah, just in general, like friends or relatives
Yeah.
that you've got. Yep.
Well, I definitely like at the moment, like I said earlier, I'm doing mind work with Kyra Lasek, and she's been a massive help. Like this whole year, I can just easily say that I'm the happiest I've ever been in my whole life,
Yeah.
and but it hasn't been easy, Like I've gone through some shit this year. I've gone through some shit last year, and I could say poor me, but like with all these tools, I think it's really helped me become the person I am today, and like I said before as well, my auntie's mindset is like no other. And I just try to be like her, a little bit of her every day. And I think is really, all these little things, like my partner as well, everyone that's in my life is so supportive and they are so, everyone's so open-minded and so out of the box and like happy to listen to each other. And I think that's what really builds a good relationship, and it really builds you as a character as well, because you can take all these little things from all these people and be like, hey, I really like what you're doing. I want to be like you. And, but you can also have people in your life that teach you how to be and how not to be. So
Yeah.
it's just how you see it. It's just that perspective.
100%. And I think too, as I said too, Jazzy, you be a fantastic spokesperson, not just for adults, but also for children as well.
Thank you.
But what would be some advice that you could probably give, say, for example, a 6-year-old girl that's thinking about starting martial arts, what would be some advice that you could give her? Like, should she start a striking art, or should she be better off doing a grappling art first and then doing a striking art? What do you think?
Well, it's just really like whatever the kids are into, because I have some kids and they're like, Jiu-Jitsu is way too slow, but then I have some kids that are like, Muay Thai is way too fast. Like it's
Yeah.
just kind of depending on the kid and maybe the mentality. But yeah, it's just finding like the right gym, find the right gym, have the right support from the coaches, and bring like maybe have a friend with you. Try and be as consistent as possible. When you're consistent, it gets so much easier. So if you're coming in like 2, 3, if you can go 5 times a week, you're gonna be laughing. It's slowly but surely progress. So yeah, just being disciplined and respect your elders and listen to your parents. I say that all the time to my kids. I'm like, hey, listen to your daddy or listen to your mommy. Because the kids get all crazy and they want to play. I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, I don't mind if we play, but you also got to listen to your mom and your dad. Which
Yeah.
I think is it's so important.
And do you enjoy coaching?
I love coaching. I love helping people. I
Yeah.
love seeing people get better and better over time. So,
Yeah.
especially if I've seen them from the very start and like they were just slowly getting there, and then the way they like over 6 months or a year, it's like, wow, this is really cool. I love getting to be a part of that journey.
Yeah. And who's been some memorable students that you've coached over the years that have made such remarkable transformations?
Oh my gosh, there is so many that I can't even think. I can think of one lady in particular. Her name was Maggie, and she was, I can't remember how old she was. Maybe she was 73 when she started.
73.
73 years old.
Holy shit. That's
I know.
incredible.
So that was quite crazy because she actually
Wow.
came to start doing Muay Thai because she wanted to learn self-defense or be confident in herself, because she was walking on the street one day and these younger, like teenage boys had like hot coffee or hot water or something. They threw it at her and she didn't know what to do. She was just shit scared, and she's like, I need to learn how to defend myself. And she said she always watched my dad on TV. So she thought, okay, this is my time. I'm gonna I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna start doing martial arts. And she did it for about 2 years. I mean, she's just as normal gym now, but she's amazing. So
That's
that's probably
incredible.
the biggest one that I can remember, that I can think of. We've had so many,
Yeah.
countless. But
I find too, Jazzy, because I teach martial arts and I teach children as well, but I find teaching makes you better in your own sort of development
yes,
because you can sort of break the technique down. So like I'm a jiu-jitsu guy as well, but when you show a basic technique like the armbar from the mount or something like that, you break the technique down, you articulate it, but then when you do it for real, it just sort of flows better. Do you find that
yeah.
with how you teach and
Oh,
actually applying that
100%.
into your own training?
Yes, and like it's fascinating for me because it's like there's so many mechanics when you go into everything. Like if you go into Muay Thai, if you go into boxing, like you're just breaking those bits down. It's like your body will flow. Your body will do the work for you. You just got to let it flow, and like putting one little movement, one tiny adjustment can make such a big difference. So when I can see it from like the outside of you, it's like, oh, okay, I'll incorporate that into my own training as well. So I 100% agree.
Yeah, definitely. And what about your diet? So obviously it's a very strict regimen that you're on. So what's a typical nutritional plan look like for you? I mean, especially leading up to a fight. Are you more carbs? Are you more protein? Like, what is it? How does it work?
So right now my diet is not that good. If you see my Instagram, I am always eating. I am the biggest foodie. I love, 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 love food. But in a fight camp, we'll just talk like that. We'll pretend I'm in a fight camp. It's definitely strict. I will not have like a bite or a crumb of anything with sugar. I cut out sugar, high fiber, high protein. High protein, I think, really saved me my last camp. High fiber, high protein. I still keep the carbs, just not too heavy.
Yeah.
So like it's just like having a balance, but like left putting up my protein for my last camp,
Yeah.
my energy was like insane. I had so much energy from the very. I was nervous before I got on the scales to my last fight because I felt so good, but I was 500 grams under the fight weight. I was like, I can't even
Wow.
believe this right now. It was like it was really really cool. So
Yeah.
when you're just like super strict and make sure everything is just perfect. Like if you can get that right, you gotta trust your body though. Like people have all their own things. Like some people, can be vegan or they do what's the one where they just eat meat?
It's like the
With carnivore.
carnivore diet.
Like I have nothing against anyone's diet preference, but it's just what works for your body. I think
100%.
girls are very different to guys. Guys are very different to girls. It's just like you just gotta find the right things that work. I think I found the right thing that works for me, but I don't really know like what that really is. I could just kind of use my intuition, trust my body.
Yeah. And do you have cheat meals? Like what's your weakness? Is it chocolate or is it more like pizza,
Oh my
pasta?
gosh. I just love like everything. I literally eat everything. Everything and anything. I used to not eat eggs, but now I eat eggs and now I literally eat everything. I don't care what it is. I love Asian. I love every culture of food. I love seafood. Seafood's pretty healthy though, so I don't know if that
Yeah.
counts. But like if you give me like that lobster, give me some lobster, give me some crab legs, give me a tub of butter. I'll dip that in there. Delicious.
That sounds so good. Yum.
Yeah. I'm a big foodie.
Yum. You must go all out, especially after a huge cut. I mean, leading up to a fight, and then once the fight's over, do you must go straight to the buffet? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, literally after my weigh in I went straight to the buffet and that was not the right move. After
Yeah.
a fight camp as well. Oh sorry, after like dieting, like your stomach kind of shrinks a bit and buffet was not the right choice after. But I still ate like 4 plates.
You smash 4 plates.
Yeah, I got it on my Instagram somewhere. It was I did like a what I eat after a weigh in and that was a lot. Everyone's like, I can't believe she ate that much. I was like, oh, I can't believe I ate that much either.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, you must be famished. I mean, it is. It's a lot of work. And as I said, I have just such the highest admiration and respect for anyone that steps in an octagon or a ring. It's just pretty remarkable what you do. But in terms of weight cutting, does that sort of have a bit of wear and tear on your body? Like, how do you find that whole process?
I think so, like if you don't do it properly. But like I've really, like I said, kind of found that balance and I found that right kind of resume that works for my body. So like my last fight camp, wouldn't even know that I was cutting weight. Like I mean the last bit, of course, honestly, I woke up, I was 300 grams out of my weight of cut, which is not anything I've ever experienced in my life. I've always had to
Wow.
cut like a kilo or so the last day or whatever, and when I just was so strict and I made everything so perfect that I was like, wow, I don't even feel like I'm cutting weight. Like I feel on top of the world.
Yeah.
So like if you can find, I mean, if you don't have much experience with cutting weight, like my advice to people is like maybe get like a nutritionist or like a coach. I've seen that fight dietitian. I've never worked with a dietitian before, but I've
Yeah.
heard they're quite good. But I just kind of listen to my body and just
Yeah.
kind of trust myself.
Exactly. And so looking ahead from now, what are some of your sort of long-term goals that you're currently working on?
I want to get world ranked. That's definitely something that I want to do in the next couple, like year or so.
For
I
boxing?
really, yeah, world ranked in
Yeah.
boxing, and once you get kind of at that level, I think we can start looking at some of the bigger belts, and definitely want to work my way up at, yeah, I want to be a champion. I want to be a world champion female boxer, and I know that I can do it. I want to fight in America. I want to travel and fight. I want to live in. I lived in Vegas last year for 2 months, but I want to
What
do
was
that
that
again. I
like?
want to get back there. Oh, it was unreal. It was just amazing. I loved living and breathing boxing and seeing the world level of what it's really like. I've
The
seen
talent's
different.
unreal, hey.
Oh, it was crazy. I got to meet Shakur Stevenson, and it was just there was so many like Terrence Crawford. Oh, it was just like crazy. Like I can't even explain that even happened in my life. But I
Yeah.
want to do that again. I want to get back over there and I want to get my name in boxing and I want to be taken seriously as a boxer and not a Muay Thai fighter. So I'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And fight all over the world, just
Yeah.
internationally, just
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that I'm signed with No Limit Boxing. So now I'm signed with No Limit. I think they're really gonna take me all the way, and they're such a good management. And they're such a good team, and I know that whatever they're gonna take me, whatever journey it is, they're gonna really help me. I've seen them do it countless of times, so I'll just be another one
Yeah.
that can add to the radar.
Yeah, 100%. I put a post on Instagram, Jazzy. This was a while ago. I see if I can remember what I said, but I said something along the lines of, in the end, we all become memories and stories. Our lives are made up of countless moments that shape who we are and how we are remembered. When we leave this world, all that remains are the memories and stories that are shared about us. And the question that I have for you, Jazzy, is what would be the legacy that you want to leave on the world?
That is a good one. That's a very good question. Um, hmm. I think just being true to yourself and being truly happy with yourself, whether it's in and out of the ring, in and out of the gym, being kind. I want to be, a positive, kind, happy person, and I don't mind. I really just want to help, like, inspire people to be the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. I see people that shape my life, and I use them as motivation, and it's just I hope that I can do that for a lot of people, and even if it's one person that I make smile, or then that is I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm a simple girl. I feel like I don't need fancy things. I don't want a fancy car. I don't want a fancy house, anything. I just want to be happy, and I want to live. And I want to live and experience life as much as I can. And if by doing that, I can inspire others to do the same thing, then I'm happy.
Jazzy, that's amazing. I think that's truly amazing, and what just you're a remarkable person. And as I said, I'm going
Thank
straight to
you.
the gym after this podcast. I'm going to hit the weights. It's infectious just
Yay!
listening and talking to you.
Oh,
Um,
I'm
so so
glad.
so you're on all the socials, Jazzy, and so
Yes.
where can people find you?
Actually, I'm not on all the socials. I'm on Instagram. That's it. I actually I feel like I'm getting so old. I'm on TikTok actually as well. JazzyParr_. I don't really use anything other than that. So
Okay.
JazzyParr_ Instagram, JazzyParr_ TikTok.
Otherwise, if people want to do some one-on-ones with you, I say get their ass down to Boonchu Gym down the Gold
Yes,
Coast.
sir. That's the
Yeah.
one.
And I know Luke Howard's still down there. So Luke is a, do you know
Yes.
Luke? Yeah,
Yes, he's one
Luke's
of our
a,
coaches.
yeah, he's a good friend of mine actually. We used to train jiu-jitsu
Amazing.
together, but he asked me maybe down the track to come down and do another seminar. So I'll show the guys how to strangle
Awesome.
people with hoodies and jumpers and things like that.
Awesome. That sounds great. We love
Yeah.
seeing you at the gym.
100%. Jazzy, it's been an absolute honor sitting down and talking with you. Just amazing on just the journey that, on how far you've come. And I'm just
Thank
super
you.
excited to see where you go from here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. It was really nice talking to you too.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks very much, Jazzy.
Thank you. Thank you so
See
much.
ya.